podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.
This is one of the lucky ones. Among thousands of worn-out old pianos that either get junked every year in our country or chosen for restoration. For these fortunate ones, here is where hope begins, thanks to a family of piano repairmen with the unlikely name of Kluttz. But the truth is that this third-generation Salisbury business almost never got off the ground at all, save for a steam engine that looked a lot like this.
My father worked for the railroad. He was a conductor on a train, and
my grandfather was in a bad train wreck and got burnt. With a little bit of money that they might have paid him for his injuries, his brother talked him into buying a couple used old upright pianos to fix up and sell. In the 30s and 40s, they would load 2 uprights on a pickup truck and take off.
a lot of times we go down the eastern part of the state to tobacco country.
Just doing cold sales, knocking on doors and saying, would you be interested in a piano? The way they tell me is, oh no, we don't need a piano. Well, just keep it for a week or two and we'll be coming back through. And if you're not interested, no cost to you, we'll pick it up. And most of the time, Dad said they would end up falling in love or somebody would play it enough to want to keep it. So that's how they kind of got their start, and it kept going, kept growing, and my dad and my uncle inherited the business. It's been passed on now for 3 generations to a cousin and to me. For the most part, when we get a piano in to restore, it's at a condition where it's either fix it or get rid of it. Most of the time, it's the sentimental attachment, the family heirloom. A piano that could have been just as my business was 2 or 3 or 4 generations, that piano might stretch back 3 and they want to pass it on for another 2 or 3 forward. So you can have literally 4, 5, 6 generations owning one instrument.
When you've been working together as long as these men have, Ray Kluttz in front, son Jonathan on the right, and nephew Paul on the left, you eventually fall into a natural, practical rhythm.
I came up here, I was mowing the yard when I was 8 or 9, sweeping floors, doing whatever needed to be done. I just grew up in the business. Paul's been here since he was born, basically, too. One of our weaknesses, the other one has a strength that can overcome that weakness. I want to be on the road or out with people or selling or just tearing something apart. Whereas Paul has the patience, I have none. He can do the tedious things that I can't do. I don't know where I got my personality. It wasn't from Dad, that's for sure, because he's quiet.
He's a talker more than I am. Sometimes he talks too much.
Ah, jeez.
Each of the 88 keys is connected to an intricate array of piano action parts. More than 50 of them per note. They have names like hammer, damper, knuckle, and whippen. And all must be perfectly mated if the note is to play correctly.
Those 2 pianos really play the same or sound the same. Each one has its own tone, its own feel to the keys.
The old Steinway now in the shop is on its way to getting a new set of strings, around 230 of them.
They each have from 195 to 200 inch-pounds of torque tension per string. All of it totaled together is something over 30,000 foot-pounds. I don't see what keeps it from folding up like an accordion.
Piano restoration also includes steps as ageless as sanding and then refinishing piano cabinet components, the furniture part. Like these massive legs undergoing restoration before being reunited with the rest of the instrument.
Every piano that we get in usually has some kind of storyline with it.
This square grand was in pretty tough shape. In normal circumstances, its next step likely would be the dump. But then there's all that fascinating Civil War history that the owner began talking about.
She was telling me that when Sherman was marching up from Fayetteville, he was meeting armies coming out of New Bern. They would just come through and slash and burn it. They would just take your stuff and put it in the yard, put it in a pile and burn it, undoubtedly. When they came into the home, one of the colonels or one of the generals saw a Masonic emblem and told the soldiers, when we leave here, don't destroy this farm. He's a brother Mason.
This piano may not have been burned, but as time went on, 6 generations of heat, humidity, and critters did their best to nearly rid the thing of its usefulness.
So what we'll do is come in, replace the bad wood, and then it'll be patched in with the rosewood veneer, and then of course on top of that, we will have the molding back around it, so everything will be pieced back together. And then when we started taking it apart, you know, just pulling the guts out of it and everything, we literally got about 5 gallons of pecans that the rodents might have stored in it.
Yeah, the years weren't good to this piano. Anything on here broke, you have to make by hand. You can't look in the catalog and order it.
But Paul found on this key here, and it's dated May the 16th, 1858. This gentleman may have signed all his work when he completed a new piano. So it wasn't that old a piano when it was threatened to be burned when Sherman marched through and they spared the farm. But we are selling pecans by the pound to help offset the cost that we're having here.
Pianos, like their owners, have distinct personalities. And the Klutzes approach the restoration of each one with a respect bordering on reverence, clearly acknowledging the work of the craftsmen who came before them. It's almost like there's an unwritten pact between the generations to make these instruments as new and perfect as possible.
The last time when that screw was touched is when somebody in 1908 put the screw in the piano to put it together. And then we touch it in 2011. We want it to be exactly how it was meant to be when it was manufactured. And that's what our goal is. While I enjoy the process of picking them up and dealing with them on that end, the fun end is on the reverse end when you're taking it back and the process has been completed. The piano's been restored.
The grand being delivered to this lucky couple today in Charlotte is a chickering.
You handle that turn, Roy?
A venerable old American-made instrument. In fact, a grandma's piano. A grandma's piano is made of memories, hearkening back to a different time, when family entertainment centered for the most part around the piano. So much so that it was hard to imagine an early 20th century home without one.
For sentimental reasons, I wanted the piano no matter what, because that's what I remember my mother playing. But how nice it's restored like this.
I was just telling her these are the same ivories that her great-grandmother, her great-aunt, her mother, and now she's touching them. By doing what we do, we're sort of extending the life of the instrument. We're extending the gift of music so it can be passed on to another generation.
You may have guessed by now that the story we're telling here is really more about family than pianos. The family in the business, and the family of customers they serve. People who might not be able to have their precious heirloom restored at all were it not for Kluttz Piano Company and their eagerness to take on even the most challenging of these old instruments.
Yeah, we have a lot of them around here that in pretty bad shape. We fix up because it's our love. I love pianists.
Podcasts on UNC-TV.org are made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC-TV.